stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Pinkley, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Surratt. Commissioner Ralph.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Pinkley. Here. Commissioner Holland. Here. All members present.
We have a quorum. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
You'd like to amend the agenda?
1-2 Brown.
Commissioner Holland, you'd like to amend the agenda?
Need to amend the agenda to include the Beaver interlocal agreement.
Second that. And I also would like to amend the agenda to put in a request for an attorney, an in-house attorney that we can talk to.
What you're asking for is to have an RFP.
Right, an RFP.
Request for a proposal
Yep.
from a local attorney.
Right.
Okay.
I think the district manager did that. All right. All right.
Anything else?
I didn't hear what you said, so. Sorry, good. Okay.
Did we have a second to that? Okay. Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of 11/25 and 12/6 of 24, the special meeting minutes? I'm
So-
sure everyone got them in an email.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. To approve the minutes for both meetings of the 25th and the 6th of December. All in favor, say aye.
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 Ceremonial, I don't know that we have any announcements. Peggy usually has an announcement.
Wykes Chamber of Commerce, we have a New Year's Eve party that's everyone invited, sponsored by the Rotary on December 31st. You'll miss it if you don't buy tickets now because we've got a big band coming in and there'll be hors d'oeuvres. If you have any questions, give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
Mr. Chair, I have one announcement. Many of you have seen the Carroll County electric trucks and big saws and so forth around the neighborhood. They are out there at 8 o'clock this morning trimming trees. I would caution you to advise you not to argue with them. They have special rules about where the trees can be, where the branches can be, and so it has nothing to do with HICID. This is an electric co-op, electric company, and they're at my house right now on a redbud tree, so I've got a real upset wife at home, but they're going up and down every street, and it'll be for the vertical up if it's near the wire or if it's hanging over. And there's going to be a lot of trees cut. So there's not much you can do about it. They have to do it so we don't have power outages, but that's what's going on over there. Thank you.
Any other announcements? We'll open the floor to the public for comments, limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Ken Mills. Okay. We can do that later. Mr. Gray? State your name and your address.
Okay, I'm Nathan Gray, here representing Tank Spec from 3 Augusta Lane here in Holiday Island. We moved here about a year ago, and so my business, what we do is we assess water towers. I fly all over the country, and I look at coating failures and repair failures on water towers, and I do forensic assessments on what caused the coating failure, on what caused the repair failure. So I was curious when we got here to look at recent inspection reports on Holiday Island's water towers, and I discovered that HICID is on a maintenance program with their towers. So what that means is HICID spends, I'm assuming, and I haven't looked at all of the data, but an exorbitant amount of money every single year to have their towers maintained. Included in that maintenance program are coatings. So when the towers would ultimately need to be painted, this company would come in and paint them. The trouble with this type of maintenance program is that it's up to the company who's ultimately going to have to pay or perform the maintenance work on the tower. It's up to them to decide when to paint the tower. And so if they continue year after year to say that the towers are in good condition, that means that they continue to get the exact same payment whether they're doing any work on the tower or not. So it's kind of a fox watching the hen house situation. I pulled up an inspection report on each one of these towers, and what I found was the reports were not thorough. There are photographs of screen for what's called the overflow on a tower, and they are referring to that as the vent screen. There's no photograph of the vent. We have no idea the sanitary condition of the vent on these towers. I found widespread coating failure that did not occur recently. This is the type of coating failure that we see over the course of many years. And I see in the assessment that the contractor is saying, we'll continue to assess, we'll continue to come back each year, essentially take HICID's money, and perhaps sometime down the road, we'll perform the maintenance. We'll perform the coating corrections. And so I'm not making any recommendation to you as to what you should do. I would be more than happy to meet with the board in a special meeting and just address this further. I know I've just got 3 minutes right now, so I don't want to take up too much time. But I would like to take a look at how do we not get rid of the contractor, but how do we get them to come in and do the work that they're hired to do and that they've been paid, I'm going to guess, for perhaps decades to do. Any questions for me?
Towers in the area here.
I've done a lot of the community towers in this area. I've done West Fork. I've done the water district that provides water to the city of Little Rock. I've done Benton County. And so if I were to really think about it, I've been doing this for about 22 years. And so I've looked at a whole lot of towers. And I've looked at a whole lot of these maintenance plans. I'm not completely against the maintenance plan altogether. It's just good to occasionally have a third party come in and look and figure out, are we getting our money's worth?
Okay. Thank you.
Nathan, I appreciate your comments, and I respect your professionalism as far as knowing this about the tanks. And I do think that we need you to come back and explain more in a work session probably next month,
Okay.
if that's agreeable to you. But I definitely would like to hear more about these tower inspections and what we're paying for and what we're getting and what we're not getting.
I'll do that. So next time I come, I'll bring a copy of each of these reports for each member of the board so you guys can review them as I go over the particulars.
Thank you for coming to the board.
Thank
Mr.
y'all.
Gray,
Yes, ma'am.
we have a lot of new people in town who don't really understand our structure. My suggestion would be to start with the district manager, Mr. Figgins, because he is in charge of day-to-day operations, and he takes care of these contracts. And visit with him, and then we can bring it to a work session or a meeting, but he's your start person.
We'll do that. And addressing that point too, for any new folks in town, I want to make you aware that it appears to me that HICID is doing an excellent job having the towers on a maintenance program. And so this isn't something where they're just shirking their responsibility. I see where you guys are doing your due diligence. I'm just calling into question the contractor and the work that they have not performed that I think that they should perform.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments by the public? Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Gia Voorhees, 25 Table Rock Drive. Government is supposed to be for the people and by the people. It is our duty to pay attention to government. A duty to obtain information. It is a duty to resist abuse, waste, and unjust taxation that harms our community. By not objecting to that, we are consenting. Yes.
Pull the microphone down like this. There we
Okay.
go. Now we can hear you.
This is why I'm standing here and why I do what I do. I hope none of us have forgotten why this country was founded. The people only have a few options to address government overreach. The first and best is for people to pay attention, gather information, speak out, and get involved. It is our duty to make sure that leaders act for the benefit of all and do not violate hard-won rights. If anyone on this board has issue with transparency, criticism, scrutiny, or disagreement, you might be in the wrong position. I am requesting to cease the security fee on the water bills. HICID does not have the authority to tax water customers for public safety. It is not a water fee, as it does not go into the water department's budget. This fee is wildly unlawful. Please do not pass a budget with an unlawful security fee on it. The city can cover that. I believe that the golf subsidy is unjust, unfair, inequitable, and frankly immoral. You have no idea how angry residents are to hear the complaining from a commissioner about a 3% golf fee increase that amounts to $45 a year, when the average homeowner is paying more than $166 a year for a golf subsidy that goes directly to him. My neighbor with a family of 4 pays $268 a year that goes directly to subsidize the golfers that are on this board and about 100 others, as well as the public at large. That is a lot of money for less than 2% of owners. Add on the high water rate and the cost goes even higher. Does the board remember that the last AOB increase was 7%? The decisions of previous boards in the past 2 decades are the very reason for the previous and current lawsuit. Lawsuits are a remedy for the people to stop unchecked government overreach. They are a lawful due process, but they can be avoided. I have stood here and asked for mediation well before the current filing. I have asked for an ad hoc water committee. We have certainly had golf committees full of nothing but golfers to input on golf rates. If water customers can pay 110%, boaters can pay more than 100%, why can't golfers pay 100% of their cost? Thank you.
3 minutes was up.
Don't respond to that.
Thank you for your comments.
And Voorhees, 25 Table Rock Lane Drive. This is also on behalf of Gia Voorhees. Censorship and democracy. The free flow of information and debate is essential to a democracy. It is unjust to limit the speech of dissenters to 3 minutes while granting others more time to speak. This is clear bias. If you do not listen to us, you cannot effectively represent us. Commissioners claim that they do not like all the comments on social media, but that seems to be the only way people can make their views fully known or to share factual information. And yes, Ken, a lot of factual information on social media comes directly from HICID or the state's own documents. Considering the numerous issues facing Holiday Island, I highly recommend a limit of 5 minutes to adopt for public comments. There are too many issues. I want this document entered into the minutes. Precedent has been made by the commissioners outside of their board capacity who entered letters into the minutes. Prioritize water. The Arkansas Department of Health reports and HICID's own production reports clearly indicate that if one well goes down or is shut down, we cannot produce enough water. This is why Dan Schrader feels that we need a new well. Others, like me, feel we need to reduce the leaking instead and want scheduled line replacement plan that is focused on service lines. This type of leak reduction plan would not cost $1 million a mile, and as a replacement crew could be hired for this. A service line replacement plan could be implemented ahead of scheduled road paving. Surveys. Some of you seem to only listen to a small group that move in your social circles. You're not hearing the truth. The people are not happy. If some of your circles knew the truth, they would also be angry. You need to hear from them. Truthful information needs to be going out. Surveys need to be going out in the newsletter and to be placed on the website with links to complete surveys. A recent Nextdoor survey had 76% respond that they feel recreation should not be run with a deficit. The majority are not content with being personal ATMs for the frivolities of those who feel entitled to other people's money. Thank you for listening.
That's 252.
Thank you for your comments. And I think some of what you said, we are doing. We have a crew that fixes water leaks every day. And as far as the surveys, we get plenty of feedback that you aren't aware of through our emails. And not all that is made public. But we do get comments from the general public, and we do know what's going on, and we do know that there is some disparity between the board and the population. That's no secret. But I think you have to allow us a chance to start making things right.
I would like to see a plan.
Okay. Any other public comments? Move on to new business. The consideration for the action to approve the Regulation 14 and Amendment 9, the rates changes. Bryce, you want to start on that, or Rich?
We need a motion first.
Do I hear a motion for the consideration for the Regulation 14 Amendment 9?
I move that we consider and approve the Regulation 14-9 regarding water rate changes.
Chief, go ahead.
I apologize, I'm still learning how this all works.
That's all right. I'd rather have you hear you now than get a fire call and you can't talk.
Good deal. Gary Martin, I'm the fire chief. First of all, I want to say is thank you all for recognizing the need that we are needing to upgrade our breathing area systems. And I really do appreciate what you all have talked about budgeting for our air packs. However, I do want to ask for an increase. Reason being, talked to Commissioner Holland this weekend. Had a very good conversation with him, and I looked at different alternatives that we can do for these breathing air systems. The current ones we have are extremely outdated and are getting to the point where we're going to be not able to purchase replacement parts for them. The current cylinders that we have that hold the air expire next spring and cannot be recertified and legally cannot be reused. What I'm looking at doing, and I've spoken to some of you before, I'm looking at changing our air pack system to a different brand called Scott. And the reason I'm doing this is because in my 33 years of experience, I have found, I feel that this is the best one for the needs of our fire department and for the life safety of my firefighters. It has a dual system to where if one system fails, the other one picks up in case of an emergency. Also, if we have a firefight with Eureka Springs, which is, if we're going to be in an extended session, it's going to be with them at one of the hotels, our bottles will interchange. And for me, again, this is a life safety issue. The board has approved $100,000 for new air packs, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you so much. This will get me in the ballpark of 10 air packs. What I'm requesting is to increase that. This is a ballpark figure. We've been trying to get these numbers together this morning. To increase that to in the area of $136,136. That will allow me to buy 12 new air packs. That will put 4 air packs on 3 frontline trucks. Be the truck that we run primarily on structure fires in the area, our rural truck, and that will also have us a truck when we go to mutual aid with Eureka Springs, they will have the new upgraded air packs. The reason I want to go with brand new, and first of all, I want you to know, I've only spec'd these air packs for the bare basic, what I feel we need for life safety for my firefighters. Buddy breathing systems, so if there's a rescue, we can hook into each other, get somebody out. These air packs will coincide with Eureka Springs, make my life safety better for my firefighters. I looked at buying refurbished air packs, and there is a considerable cost difference. However, I've been on the phone this morning with the representative for the company that makes the Scott air packs. And what I was told, and this really stuck with me this morning, is those companies that refurbish these air packs, and one of them is called Dalmatian. From what I was told by this representative, when they refurbish these parts, they're not using true Scott parts. They're using refurbished aftermarket parts. If we buy these air packs, and NFPA says we can use them, but if we buy these air packs and there is a failure, Scott representatives, Scott companies that sell these and service them cannot come and fix them for us. We own it. If I buy brand new air packs, Scott has a lifetime warranty on each air pack for as long as we own that air pack. So we have it for 20 years. That warranty is for 20 years for a manufacturer's defect. This would be a major step in getting us moving forward for replacing our system, and it'll give our frontline trucks top-class air packs for our firefighters' life safety. And that's why I'm asking for the increase to that.
I'd like to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I talked to 2 different fire chiefs over this last week, and all of them told me, every one of them, told me that those are universal, those, like you're saying, that only Eureka can fill those tanks. They said they can fill all 3 types of tanks that are on the market because they have an adapter that goes on. So don't tell me that you can only fill that from Eureka.
Sir, I am
that's not correct.
Sir, I am not telling you that. I am saying
and
that
secondly, I want to know how many hours have you used an air pack in the last year?
Sir, first of all, I did not say that they cannot fill our air packs. Our air bottles will interchange with theirs. So if
You
we
can
are
buy
there,
new air bottles, by the way.
Yes, sir. They're about $1,200 a piece, brand new.
And so that makes, I don't know how many hours you got on those air packs, but I was in the fire department for 25 years. And I know we had units that were more than 25 years old when they first came out, and they work, and as long as they work well and you can have the tanks checked, you're in fine shape. But to spend $150,000 or $136,361 or whatever you said, for a one-time purchase, maybe we ought to I think we need 3 bids before we okay that. That's my statement.
I've been doing this for 33 years. I have spent many, many hours in an air pack. Yeah, in the last year I've not been in an air pack that much. But You tell
How
me.
many, you never answered my question. How many times have you used an air pack in the last 3 years? We do not have any high-rise buildings. We do not have high-rise buildings where every man that goes in there needs an air pack on. And secondly, you know,
Have you ever
we
heard of
can't-
IDLH?
yes,
Immediate death to life and health. That's what my firefighters are going to. I don't care if it's a 3-story apartment building. I don't care if it is a trailer house. It is immediate danger to life and health.
if there's somebody in there.
They're going in anyway. They're going in to fight the fire. My guys are very aggressive. They're going to fight the fires. I have a assisted living facility here that has 2 stories plus some sub-stories to it. You go down most of Table Rock Drive, yes, you see 1 story from the front. You go around the back of those buildings, you're talking 2 levels in the back.
I know I have the same thing in
Yes.
my house, but I just want to know how many hours have you used an air pack? Answer that question.
John, how many hours we used in airpack, think, last year?
I can say for myself, I can average probably about 20 hours a month in an air pack.
That is
20
training
hours
and-
a month for,
That's training and firefighting.
okay, training, okay. You don't train every month.
We train constantly. Yes, we've had, in the last year, well, no, take that back. Since I have stepped up as interim chief before I got chief, we have had, three major structure fires. And I have had firefighters in those buildings for extended amount of times fighting fire.
That's fine, but how many fires have we had?
We've had 3 since what, October? September, October?
Don't
3
you
major.
keep a record how many you have per year?
Yes, sir, I got them on my computer at the station. I can go pull it.
Well, pull it up and tell me.
How many
You know,
calls?
I just made a motion, and I'm going to make a motion that we table this until our next work session and get 3 bids.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Chief,
Yes.
I'd just like to ask you a couple things.
Yes, sir.
I'm very familiar with Scott Air Packs
Mm-hmm.
as a scuba diver. The price you quoted us was $9,950.
Somewhere right now, I've got the papers right here on that.
Is that right?
I'd
9,000?
have to add it, it's somewhere in the vicinity of $10,000 for the harness and 2 cylinders to go with it, and
Okay.
a face mask.
My question to you is, are there any less expensive alternatives? And the reason I ask, and I respect you guys and you need these air packs. I have that's not a question. The question is, the issue is, we're getting hit with now 136,000. Last week, or at the work session, we were talking 500,000. 200,000. Is there any, because you hit us with a budget of 200,000 that we got to have by early spring, which I assume is April
Yes.
of 2025. Is that
Yes,
right?
Yes, these cylinders we currently have will expire, I believe, in April.
I guess when this kind of stuff comes up, we'd kind of like a little heads up, like a year out. Instead of 3 months, you say, wow, all of our Scott Air Packs are expiring in the spring.
I've only been in this
Why were
position.
we not aware of that?
I cannot speak for the previous administration. I've been stepped up doing this since, August?
Yeah.
And been, for lack of a better expression, I've had a lot of fires to put out, and finally hit us, we need to be doing this. And I did not realize just how bad our air packs were until I got to finding out that many of our air packs were given to us from other departments years back. And it's dawned on
Yeah, I
me
think
that-
I read on social media, some guy mentioned that his department donated several of them from
Oh, so,
Illinois. to
Yes,
our-
that's what I've been told, yes.
I guess, and all said and done, I think when you guys need this kind of a capital improvement, you got to give us a little more lead time.
I wish I was in a position where I could have.
And I can't blame you, because you walked in this in the middle of chaos.
And again, like I said, I'm not asking for all the bells and whistles in these things. I'm asking for the bare basics for the life safety of my firefighters. That's what I'm looking at. When these guys go into a building with a dangerous atmosphere, believe me, even if I'm not here, I'm paying attention, because I know I'm sending those guys into a dangerous atmosphere, and I want them to be in the very best possible that I can put them in, so they go home to their families at the end of their shift. That's all I'm looking at, is the life safety of my firefighters.
And I think I can speak for the board. We think the same thing.
Thank you.
Come on, these are all of our neighbors, friends, whatever. But
And there's no doubt about that, none whatsoever. I'm just trying to, and again, like I said, this is a one-time purchase when we buy these. But when we buy these air packs, we're going to have these for many, many years. When it comes time to place these out, it's going to be the next chief's problem. we're going to have these air packs for many, many years, as long as we can keep them maintained, serviced, they pass flow tests. Granted, the bottles expire in 15 years. That's somebody else's problem later on down the road, I realize that. But we are making a major investment, and I know we can go with a cheaper air pack, but I am wanting to get us the best bang for our buck, and I feel that Scott Air Pack is the best bang for our buck when we go spend this money.
You're saying now we need 12 to outfit 3 trucks
Yes,
for each.
NFPA requires 4 air packs to a truck, and that will have all 3 trucks with all the same type of air packs on them.
How many do we actually need total?
We've got 6 trucks, bare minimum, we need 24 air packs, bare minimum. That's not counting extras for our aerial. Probably 30 when you figure our aerial in there. We need at least 30 air packs.
Okay, I appreciate that. And if we bought 12 for 2025,
Yes.
how many do we need to buy again in 2026? I guess I want to do this over, if we
yes,
don't need them all
Exactly. I
tomorrow,
don't need them all tomorrow, no, sir.
we can do this incrementally over
Yes, sir.
the
That's
course
our
of a
plan.
couple of years.
Yes, sir. If we can get 12 air packs right now, that'll take care of my 3 frontline trucks. Frontline for HICID, frontline for our rural, and then one when we send down for mutual aid. And then that will also leave a truck back here to cover with the good air packs. If we can get those right now, we're golden for a while. Next year or the year after, we can look at starting to replace some more at maybe smaller increments. I'm just trying to get to where I can fight a good fire right now with the proper air packs, whether it be here or mutual aid.
Okay. You know, we'll ultimately do this.
Yes, sir.
It's a matter of where the money's coming from.
And I do understand that.
And I've looked at your budget, and there's some things in there I think we could trim.
We can look at things.
Things that jump out at me was building maintenance, $10,000. Well, that buys one Scott Air Pack.
Yeah, that would. We do need to do some building maintenance, but we can relook at some of those.
Okay, I guess I'm going to throw it back in you to prioritize what you need worse, bedrooms or a Scott Air Pack?
We have been doing that. We have
Okay,
been doing that.
okay.
Yes, sir.
We're on the same page.
Yes, sir, we are.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I have a question or comment. Of those 3 major fires in the last 3 months,
Yes, sir.
did your personnel use air packs on each one of those to go into the building?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And was there enough air in those packs to meet your needs? Did they work?
At that time, yes, I believe we had, John, you were on some of them. Did we run out? We didn't run out of air, did we?
We were averaging, we went through all the bottles that
Yes.
we had and had to send back to the station and refill.
That is correct, yes.
We could not interchange with Eureka Springs because of different types of air packs.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I wanted to say, and Phyllis, I agree with you, this is going to be put in our minutes. I agree with you. I think the chief should work with our district manager on this. We're hearing about it right now at the table, and we're discussing a 2-year, 3-year plan. And it's just like when we bought all the 3 fire trucks, you know, $300,000, $400,000 apiece. We don't need to be negotiating with you as chief from this table. It should be that gentleman down there, and then he comes with a proposal, okay? And he knows what the budget is. We're going to approve the budget hopefully later in the meeting. He knows where we can afford 136 or 200,000 or whatever it is. I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying this is, as an elected member, I've been around here 8 years at this table, I think it works a lot better to have a lot of planning. Forget about social media, I don't care about that, but I think we hired him to do the job and work with all the department heads, you being one.
Yes, sir.
Important one. That's all.
Thank you.
And I would say you are not the first department manager to plead your case in front of the whole board, and you know what you're doing. You're trying to sell us, which is fine. Nothing
Appreciate
wrong with
that.
that. But again,
Yeah, I
Mr.
would-
Chairman.
you're pleading your case, and you're certainly allowed to do that.
How many air packs do you own right now, or in possession of the fire department?
We have 40 in our inventory, and there is a considerable number that's out of service now for whatever reason or another. And with them being at the end of their lifespan, it's just not feasible to try to fix them.
Okay.
I know we've got, I think we got 29 or 30, I know that's in service.
And all of those are going to expire in,
All the cylinders will
Spring.
expire. The air packs The air packs themselves, as long as they've passed flow tests, technically they're NFPA compliant, but we're getting to an age now to where those parts are being no longer made. And it's going to be more and more difficult to replace them and fix them.
Okay,
Plus,
Mr. Chairman.
they're getting quite a bit of years on them.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think the thing here is, we're all talking about is dollars. We have people that want to have champagne appetites, and we only have beer pocketbooks. So let's don't be spending way more money than we should be, because I've seen this, I've been on this board a year, and I've seen this in every occasion.
I can assure you, Doug, we will get competitive bids.
3 competitive bids.
Thank you.
Can we get back to the motion on the floor, please? For the regulation number 14, Amendment 9.
We had a motion, and we
Yep.
had it seconded.
And we're discussing it.
Let's hear your discussion.
I'm just wanting to get back on track. Explain what it is and tell us what it, go over it, please. We kind of got out of what we needed to be talking about. We've been distracted.
No, we haven't been distracted. I think what the chief had to say was very beneficial to all
I
of
did
us.
not mean to imply that.
And as
it
the
was.
chairman, I can do that.
Let's keep in order here.
Bryce, you want to read the regulation number 14, number 9?
We'll read the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Regulation number 14, amendment number 9. Board of Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District wishes to amend Regulation 14, enacted on June 10th, 1996. And whereas the board adopted by resolution a new code of regulations at the regular meeting of the board on September 29th, 2003, within which the regulation number 14 was incorporated into Chapter 32, Utilities. And whereas Chapter 32, Section 3248 provides that changes in water and/or sewer rates will be accomplished by the majority vote of the Board of Commissioners of the Holiday Island Suburban Improvement District in a regular or special session. A copy of the rate change and authorization from the minutes of that session shall be attached to Regulation 14. Whereas the following amendment will modify various portions of Chapter 32 Utilities to water and sewer service as outlined below.
Any comments by the board?
Discussed water, and we had public comment about water, and we see public comment all the time in social media. And all of us on this board, maybe not the 2 new members or 3 new members, but the other board had to go through 8 hours of training on Act 605, and it was held down in Springdale. And due to weather, some of us did it online. And we know enough to know some of the rules about water. And one of the things was a water rate study that had to be done in each community under Arkansas law, and that has been done. And so we have the water rates down below and what they were and what we're recommending to make our water system pay for repairs and pay for all the improvements that are needed. I think there are 2 departments that are tantamount and very important here. One is fire and one is water. Roads, if you have a hole in the road, that's not good. Other departments we can get by, but we need fire protection, we need water when you turn on that faucet every day. So I'm in favor of looking at this and approving whatever rates are fair and equitable.
Mr. Chairman, looking at the second page, which is the monthly water rate services, we are looking at an increase of 57 cents in the monthly rate for water services and leaving the monthly rate for sewer services unchanged. There's a matter of public record and what we're looking for. not very much money.
All those in favor of approving Regulation 14, Amendment Number 9?
Aye.
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 Aye. You're not having a roll call vote?
Yeah, we could do a roll call vote. Call the roll.
Commissioner Surratt?
Aye.
Commissioner Howland? Commissioner Graff?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinkley? Aye.
The next item is Regulation 14, Amendment Number 10, which, Bryce, you can,
I make a motion that we approve regulation number 14, amendment number 10 by title only.
I'll second.
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 We need consideration and discussion.
Do a roll call.
Commissioner Surratt?
We haven't had any discussion of it, or
We haven't read
does
the
this
title
require reading?
We did it by the title in the motion.
Commissioner Surratt?
Aye.
Howland?
Aye.
Commissioner Graff?
Aye.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinkley? Aye.
Regulation 14, Number 9, and Regulation 14, Number 10, both are passed. Move on to consideration to approve the 2025 amenity fees. We have a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Ken?
I'll second.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. We'll open the discussion on the amenity fees for 2025.
I've looked through it, and I don't see anything that is out,
Most things on this amenity fee schedule has stayed the same. The season passes for the golf went up to $930 for an individual from $900. Bryce, I don't know of any other things that are on here that are much different.
Chair, I wanted to mention also that we had a consultant here a couple of years ago from Boca Raton, Florida, and he made some recommendations that were totally outlandish for a small course like Holiday Island. But some of the ones that he did make were implemented. One of them was we went up from $750 for a membership for a single person to $900. That was about a 20% increase at that time. And we've done that also with the marina. We've done that also with other things, 5% a year for 5 years. That was a 25% on. So we're not just sitting back and saying, but what we do is we ask the golf pro or the golf manager or the district manager to look at other courses around Monette, Cassville, Branson, and over in the corridor. And what a course that's similar to ours, not Muni courses, but it's a course similar to ours, maybe not a country club, what are their rates? And if we go way above for the quality of course we have, we're going to lose green fees because people won't come, they'll go where the value is greatest. But we have raised rates, and there comes a point where you go above what can be manageable. In other words, people will stop coming, or they'll go where it's a more fair rate. So we're looking at, I'm just looking at one that, and we had an accountant here several years, and she said, Ken, when we raise golf fees 5%, we lose about 10% of the golfers. That was her comment. And she was in the front office looking at that. So there comes a diminishing return point where you raise it up, you're going to get more money in, but if you got less golfers coming in, either on a membership or daily green fees, you're going to be out of whack.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
I know for a fact, and I golf with these guys, that when we raised that, we had, out of the group that I golf with almost every day, 4 or 5 of those guys did not renew their membership. They pay, and they do not come every day. They come about once a week now, at best. So we did lose some members when we raised the price, because they can go to other places. They can go to Bearville, they can go to Cassville, and some of them live up that way, so why not go there?
But Bearville's not a course like we have at all.
Well, what's wrong with it? It's got grass.
But also, I made a comment in years past that we had several bowlers in the audience out in the public. There's a bowling alley in Cassville, I guess there's a bowling alley in Bearville. If you want to bowl and you're paying $2 a line, and all of a sudden they raise it to $3, you have a choice. You either go bowling and continue to bowl, and you raise the rates on your shoes and on your so forth. And in golf, if you want to golf, I went from $750 to $900, and I hardly go up there at all. We have a meeting now on Mondays, so the Old Coots was changed to Monday rather, and I can't go on Old Coots anymore. But I chose to support the course and pay, and now it's going up to $930, and I'll do that, or whatever it is. So you make a choice on your sports and your recreational activities, Doug, in my opinion. And I don't think it's outlandish. I think it's in the realm of, but if they want to leave and go elsewhere, that's up to them. That's why it's great to be in America.
I will say that this increase is 3%, give or take, across the board. So it's not a huge increase for the golfers. I had someone tell me that he didn't think it was enough. But I don't think 3% is an outrageous
You should
amount.
talk to the people that quit then.
Well, they're gone, so you can't.
So I know that there was, if you had lost 4 people, you lost $2,700 plus what they come.
That's the choice everyone has to make.
That's just 4.
Anyway,
One thing I would like to bring to the attention is the rental rate now for the barn for charitable groups. Instead of $500, it's $75 for an event. But I think going forward, we are going to have to increase the deposit if they use the kitchen. It's an ongoing problem with, after an event, ensuring that the kitchen is back to perfect, and we don't have to spend money with a company to come in and clean up after them. So I think we're going to raise the deposit. If they use the kitchen, we're going to have to raise the deposit to ensure that it gets cleaned. But I think all the charitable groups that were treated unfairly in such a way of $500 that they can't afford that, I think we're trying to make that right. The meeting rooms that we're using downstairs of the clubhouse, A and B, will stay reasonable for the card clubs and the ladies that are using those. The pro shop, the ladies that meet in that room are going to have to wind up using the room where the simulator is now, and that'll be gone, but that room will accommodate the tables that they're using currently in what is going to be the pro shop. And the rate will stay the same. It's pretty minimal.
So are we relabeling the room where the simulator is that now room A for the purposes of this conversation? Because room A is the pro shop. That's been designated as room A. So are we going to, we still have a pricing on room A on this sheet. And I'm just asking, is that just going to transfer to the other room?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Yeah, it will.
I just want some clarity on the resolution here.
Any other comments on the amenity fees?
Chair, one of the things that I've heard from people who don't call me very often, but when they do or see me in a grocery store, they talk about these fees, some of the fees, and where the small groups are going to go. Have we assured them that they have a place to go for cribbage group, not cribbage, bridge and quilters groups and so forth. A and B. A is the room down below the ballroom, the big room, okay? And that's going to be used for golf. I call it the starter area, but pro shop. And that will not be available anymore for those groups that I just mentioned. But they're going to move over into the room across the hall, right?
That is correct.
And that's going to be remodeled, not remodeled, but
We need to put a ceiling in there to bring it up to the code for fire.
Exactly, and then also it'd be cheaper to heat that than heating the whole attic.
Yes.
so for those of you who asked me, I said it's being worked on, and now this is a list of the fees. I think the island room was out of commission for 2 years because that was the access to the pool and so forth, but that's back online. It will be back online now. The ballroom rent, Mr. Chair, I'd like to thank you for your work on trying to figure out equitable rental for those facilities up in the country club. And I think you did a lot of work per square foot on that, correct?
It was trying to figure out what is our costs of the utilities, and what does it cost HICID to own and operate that room by the day, by the hour, whatever. And it's far less than I had anticipated, and that, to me, reflects why we can lower the price down to the people that own the ballroom to start with, which is owned by the property owners, and they should be paying a much lower rate. And I think as far as your card groups and cribbage and quilt makers, I think we've accommodated all of those, and if there's a group that we've missed, they can contact Rich, and he will figure out where we can accommodate them. But I think right now, isn't the Bridge Club using the island room?
The duplicate group that plays on Mondays are in the island room. I play in a group that plays 2 or 3 days a month in room B,
Okay,
the small room.
okay.
And other than that, I don't know any, I can't speak to the quilters or the,
Well, and I don't know every group that uses all these
I don't
rooms.
either. But
And
I
so,
know-
because some of them went away with COVID, and maybe now some will come back. I don't
think
know.
there are fewer now than there had been in the past.
But I think we can
Yeah.
accommodate any group now.
Yes,
Thank you.
call the boss.
Any other comments on the amenities?
Section 4, line 3 was added to this. Holiday Island organization's rental fee will be set on a per basis request with the city manager. So that clarifies we use all
Okay.
different clubs.
Yes.
Different areas.
Yeah, yeah, it's up there at the top on page 3.
Yep.
Janice Murphy from the Rec Center. I don't know what fees you're looking at, but I wish I had a copy. So are you saying the clubs and organizations still have an annual fee?
Yes.
Okay, and is it from Monday through Thursday? Because the way it was before, clubs and organizations could rent for an annual fee any facility from Monday through Thursday for a special amount. Like the Island Room was $75 for the year for a club or organization. And then on Thursday or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it was left open to other people to rent it, or if that club or organization wanted to rent it at that point, they would pay a different fee. So I'm just trying to figure out, now the Island Room has, like I said, the Bridge Club and the Pooligans, and somebody else called me about something else. So I want to know what to tell them for an annual fee for the Island Room, Monday through Thursday. And then they all know that if somebody wants to rent it during the time that they're there for regular money, then they have to vacate for that time. That's how it used to be. So I'm just trying to clarify what you guys are voting on.
I don't think we limited it to Monday through Thursday. I think we set the rate as 7 days a week.
Well, it's not addressed.
Oh, it wasn't that way before. So, I mean, it was Monday through Thursday.
What you're suggesting is reasonable to me, because we don't want to tie up a really rentable space for a good amount of money
Right.
over the weekend.
Right.
And that's when your activity would be. I think it's a reasonable idea to advise the regular clubs that they can have Monday
They can have it during
through
the week.
Thursday.
Right.
And most of them are looking for a place.
Right.
And that's easy enough to point out.
The
at
Bridge Club
time.
does go in there on Friday. That's one of their Monday and Fridays.
Once a
But
month
they,
or every other week.
Friday. But they know if it is a rentable time, like somebody wants to rent it for a family reunion for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then they wouldn't be in there on that particular Friday.
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
I think we rent it 7 days a week.
I think that's a bad, just for the reason she stated.
Well, how many events was the Island Room rented for on the weekend last year?
I gave all that information to Rich. I mean, I have everybody, all the rentals that I had and what they were, I have them on my computer with the dates that people had them.
I'm just questioning, how many were done on the weekend?
Well, not knowing what the weekend days were, the Island Room took in $555 in 2024 from the time we vacated it, and the Pavilion, $635. Now, whether that was a weekend or not, I don't know. I just put the dates on 7/4. This one was 9/7, a birthday party. I don't know what date that was or what day it was during the week. But clubs and organizations all know that if something comes up for a rental, they can't use it that particular day. But on the weekends, clubs and organizations don't really look for that room on that weekend. They want it during the week.
I agree.
You
I mean,
know.
everybody here, for the most part, is
Right.
retired Monday through Friday,
Right.
every day.
They have a
Saturday.
club or they have cards or they do an activity of some sort. So
I guess
that's,
what I'm wondering is if we run it 7 days, are we actually blocking out people that would otherwise rent it on the weekend? If we are, I don't want to lose that business.
oh, yeah, I think if you make it that a club or organization can use it on a weekend for their annual fee, you are going to block out some people, or I flip them out of there.
How are
Yeah,
you
I got
handling the Bridge Club on the Friday then, if it's only Monday through Thursday?
They still come in on Friday. They paid a fee up at the top to use, and he figured out a fee there for Mondays and Fridays. And they just took that, they just came down here. So that's why I was trying to figure out what I'm going to charge them as a club organization, because they're using it 2 days, Mondays, every Monday, and then every other Friday, and then the 5th Friday. So they're using it more times than just somebody who meets in there once a week.
So that means we make exceptions, so if we have we have something 7 days a week and we need something on a weekend, then we can make an exception and say, no, you can't, we have to rent that for this weekend.
We've already made this issue, though, we've already fixed this issue with the Section 4, Line 3, about Holiday Island organization, rental fees will be set on a per basis request of the district manager. And so if you want to set a yearly rate,
Oh, yeah, because a club or an organization is going to pay for it every day they use it. That would be too expensive for them. They have to do an annual.
We aren't making any money at $500 a year for renting a building anyhow.
I'm sorry, I didn't, what did you say? I didn't hear.
If you said we took in $500 on that one room in a whole year,
Well, that was since we vacated it. Since we opened it, the first time we started using the Island Room was in July.
okay, so you're telling me that, what was it last year?
We didn't rent
Total.
it last year because we were in it.
Right.
The year before?
I don't know if I have
We were still in it.
Huh?
We were still in it.
Well, the year before that.
the year before. We were
You know, I mean, we got to look at what the whole thing, the whole scenario of
Well,
that.
I think essentially the whole issue is moot because all of these organizations all have their schedules and they know what days they use the Island Room, and
Right.
that doesn't change.
Right.
We're not getting new groups starting up every week. I mean,
No.
all these groups that are meeting there have been meeting there for
And some
a
of them,
long time.
and some of them haven't come back due to COVID.
Right.
So the bridge clubs are new to the Island Room, and the Pooligans is new. It gets rented for baby showers and for birthdays and for family reunions. That's what they use the Island Room for.
Okay.
So
But I think all the organizations that use that room know better than to want to use it on a weekend.
Correct. I would say
So
so.
I don't think it's even an issue.
I agree.
But I guess I need to know what an annual fee would be for them. You know, that's what I'm getting at. Everybody is, you know, a
Well, I think
charitable.
Phyllis needs to address that because her group's using that room now.
But we're using room B.
Room B.
I thought you were using the island room as
No,
well.
No.
I don't play bridge in that group.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Are any bridge players here that rent that room?
The bridge players used to rent the A room up at the top, at the top.
A
So I
room
think
A.
they said, they set it up where they paid X amount for the Mondays and then another amount for the Fridays.
Yeah.
And that's what they paid them annually. I can't remember what they said.
Rich, are you aware
So-
of these fees?
amounts right now, but I know they do, the bridge club that uses it every other Friday does pay more than the regular bridge club that just comes in once a
Right.
week.
Okay.
And there are property owners who belong to the duplicate bridge club that's using it. So, again, that comes under the you may negotiate part.
So basically, if you're going to use it maybe more times like the Bridge Club, you would charge them a little bit more annually for the room versus somebody who comes in once a week, you know, for a time once a week on a Saturday, on a Wednesday like the Pooligans do. So I just need to give some guidance on what that should be charged versus, you know, one other person. I got to have, because people are starting to call. And this all happens on the 1st, you know, January. I send out a new contract to them.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, Janice, on the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
I had a comment from a couple, and they said they had their 2 kids with them, and they were at the playground near the pavilion, and they went over and sat at a table,
Mm-hmm.
and they had sandwiches or something, McDonald's, whatever they brought with them, and they were told they were not able to stay there. That's not true, is it?
No, that is not true. I have one time, a couple of years ago, 3 cars pulled up in front of the pavilion.
Yeah.
And all these people got out with coolers and everything. And I went down there and I said to the gentleman, you know, this is a rental facilities. You would have need to call and do this, but please stay today. I didn't kick them out of there, but they knew that it was going to be a rental from that. The sign is on the building.
Yeah, but
If
somebody,
people-
some kids are using the community garden, or they're using the playground or the
We-
pickleball court.
no,
And they
none
want
of-
to sit down and have a Coke.
none of my
That's all
staff
right,
has
right?
done
That's-
that.
It's a community facility.
That's right. They can sit there. It's when you have a big party and people rent it that, you know, the garbage has to be taken out of there and everything has to be cleaned up.
Large
But
group versus 4 people, right?
a pine party?
Large group versus 4 people.
Yes.
Large group. who
Yes,
has
if a
four-
whole crew.
4
so-
people
yeah.
having a Coke after playground.
If they're going to sit there and have a beer, that's fine. Okay, so any other
Janice, I
questions?
think back to what you were originally asking about these other groups and what their annual costs are going to be.
Right.
I think we'll keep it the same that they've been paying.
A normal one that was, you know, 1 day a week for the, you know, for the year was $75, and they had a standing cleaning fee, which I collected the money and HICID has it, so that if, you know, we had to use it, it's called a standing cleaning fee. But the question is, if somebody's going to use it 4, 5, 6, 7 times a month, then we should increase it a little bit more than the $75. I don't know, that's my suggestion.
Why would we do that? Then we just run away business. Keep it at $75. Right.
All right, we'll leave it like it is.
Are we going to change, there's a regulation in there that says the club organization has to have 70% Holiday Island residents in it. Are we changing that? Because, that's just a question I have, because a lot of these bridge clubs have people coming from a lot further away than Holiday Island.
That's
Does it
in
make
our,
any difference?
Well, because
If
it's,
we rent the room, if we don't rent the room, we lose $75.
I'm just saying it's one of the regulations, sir, that's all I'm saying.
that's written in the regulations that we have to change.
Okay, all right.
That's being addressed, is that what we're saying? Thank you, Janice.
Any other comments on the amenity fees?
So, Mr. Mr. Chair, these fees, especially the pool fees, will go in the letter that the A&P Commission is sending out, certified letter. We had Peggy, I think, write one a proposed letter, and we had another letter that for the short-term rental owners, these fees that their guests would pay, they have to have the annual pass in order for that to happen, right?
Yes.
I saw both of those letters that were proposed. They look very similar.
Yeah. They were fine.
Yeah, I think either
they're
one of, we could
either
use
one
either
of them.
one of them.
Yeah.
To me, they look,
Cindy writes a little more flowery, a little more cozy. Yeah, Mark. But
For those of you who don't know, it's the short-term rentals, there's over 100 that have been approved by the city and the A&P Commission, and they will start paying fee. That election was held November 5th, and in order for them to swim in, their guests to swim in the pool, there's a fee that they pay the owner, and then the guest per person pays. So it's just like a homeowner, but they have to, the SRT owner, short-term rental, have to do that. And we only had 18 last year that bought that pass, and there was a lot of angst for the staff over there. They would come with their little swim trunks on and ready to, and then they couldn't swim. So this way, I think it's going to be a lot better and a lot more fair for everybody involved.
we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion on the floor already to accept the amenity fee. So all we need to do is vote. If you finished with discussion.
the discussion is finished. We'll take a vote on the resolution to approve the amenity fees for 2025. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's been moved and passed. We're done with the amenities. The next item is consideration action to approve a 2025 interlocal agreement with the City of Holiday Island to provide fire protection services.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we consider and approve the 2025 interlocal agreement with the City of Holiday Island to provide fire protection services.
Second.
Open for discussion.
Now, are we talking over on Beaver?
Now,
And-
this one is for the City of Crystal
Oh,
Lake.
this is for the city.
Or, I'm sorry, the City of Holiday Island.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure where we were at.
Yeah, I'm a little lost too.
Should we read that first paragraph?
Yeah, it's not anymore.
Should we
Okay.
read it?
Go ahead.
First paragraph? Let me read it.
Yeah, I've got two of them.
Yes, one is for Beaver and one is for,
Two for Heisey.
I think we need to read it so the public knows and everybody knows what we're talking about here. And then, because there's two different agreements here. Pardon?
This is not the right one.
Maybe we, maybe,
Read the paragraph, it looks like the rest of it is the same as the previous years. There's only one section, section 6, that has changed.
Okay, go ahead and read it.
Section 6, consideration of the services that be provided by HICID. Pursuant to the provisions of this agreement, Holiday Island shall pay HICID in accordance with the following schedule. A, $200,000 for the year beginning January 1, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025. The following amount should be paid in one installment that shall be due and payable on January 15th of 2025. It's the only modification. $200,000 for the year beginning January 1, 2025 and ending December 31st of 2025. Section 6, paragraph 8.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
I really don't have any then. Is that what we wanted to do?
I think this is with the city, and their budget is not approved yet. Is it? So, yeah.
Mayor Keys, I didn't bring a copy of the interlocal agreement with me, but what we have in and I drafted it, so if there's an error in it, I fully admit it's my mistake. But the city budget, which we're going to consider tomorrow night in our meeting, has $100,000 budgeted for the fire department, not 200,000.
You sent a letter to the Board of Commissioners dated November 21st of 2024, proposing that you pay $100,000 per year, but it's only for 1 year.
Right.
Now, that was your offer of what you're wanting to pay us for the service.
Right.
Our offer to you is $200,000 a year is what it costs. And I want the city to understand the $100,000 that you're offering doesn't even pay the benefits at the fire department. It is not in any way an equitable portion for the city to pay when we have $578,000 for the fire department, and the city thinks their portion should only be $100,000. How is that equitable when you pay about, what, $140,000 for 2 deputies?
It's not a matter of equitable, it's a matter of revenue. That's all the revenue the city, even the $100,000 was primarily going to come out of reserves, not out of our normal revenue. When we incorporated as a city, it was understood between the district and the city that the primary revenue that the city was going to have access to was on the street side, the turnback funds from the state for roads. It was never intended for the city to pay any particular amount towards the operation of the fire department.
But the interlocal agreement is with the fire department.
The interlocal agreement
Is between HICID and the city for fire protection.
Right. But there's nothing in the law that says that there has to be, I mean, if you're refusing to provide fire protection service for the city because we can't afford to pay you $200,000, then the city council is going to have to get together and decide what our course of action is going to be. We're required by law to make sure that the city has fire protection, that the citizens of the city have fire protection service. We're allowed by law, since we're a city of the second class, to do that through an interlocal agreement, which is what we did when we first incorporated, understanding that we couldn't afford to operate, we didn't have the tax revenue to operate our own fire department. So if you're saying that the district is refusing to provide those services, then the city is going to have to get together and figure out what we're going to do.
We're not saying that we're refusing. We're saying that in 2021, we had $188,000 in wages, and you paid $46,000 the first year, and then it was going to be $50,000 thereafter. Well, that was drafted in 2021.
And we've had a lot of wage
Our
increases.
budget has almost tripled with the fire department in that same period of time, but yours has done nothing. You tried to keep it at $50,000, which is not in any way.
What do you suggest we do? We can't.
I suggest that the city get a revenue stream by either a 5 mil levy, a sales tax, a
That's what we'll
right
have.
of way, or whatever it takes, but they need to pony up some money for the fire department.
Well, this is the wrong venue to be having that discussion.
We've
been
tried
talking-
to have this discussion in months
Mr.
past,
Chairman?
and it's never happened.
Yeah, not because of me. I've been asking to have that meeting, that strategic planning meeting, and it never happens, so I even picked a date one time and it didn't happen. So if that's still what we need to do.
Interject here that you did set a meeting, I think it was for the 19th of October or something, and some couldn't come, so it wasn't held. So you did your part, and I think this is the type of thing that should have been in a meeting of the whole group. And I was told, no, we can't get 11 people together. We did it about 2 Saturdays ago. We had a 6-hour meeting here with Cindy Reagan, and we got a lot done. We could do the same thing, and she's offered to do it between the city council and the board of commissioners. But to come up right here, and I looked at it, and I agree with what the chair is saying, but you haven't had a chance to have your city council act on it, 100 or 200,000. But, and then I know there's some legal things, and you've got an attorney. We may not have one, but you would have to probably go with your attorney and find out whether some of your funds could be used for this or not. You know, I come to your meetings quite a bit, and I know that there's money available, but you can't use it in certain areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the turnback money for roads,
Okay.
the state deposits that directly into the street fund account with the city, and it can't be used for anything other than that. Our general revenue, our general fund revenue is primarily our share of the county sales tax. And yes, there are things that, the city could impose the 5 mil property tax. If we did, it's too late this year to do that. You have to make that determination in October, and we did not choose in October to assess a levy. So it'll be next October before we could assess a levy. It would be the following year before that money would be collected. So we're 2 years out on having any additional sources of revenue. So if you move forward with your resolution with the 200,000 in it, it will not get approved by the city because we don't have the revenue, and it's against the law for the city to have a deficit budget.
Do you have 100,000?
We have 100,000 in reserve that we were going to contribute this year.
What is your total budget, Mr. Mayor?
For the city?
Yeah. Roughly.
Roughly $500,000. That is, if we spend money on roads, which is an open issue too right now, because we can't spend money on roads unless the district dedicates those roads to the city. But we're sitting on a lot of cash in our road fund that could be spent on roads. We're not sitting on a lot of money in the general fund account. We have barely enough money to cover code enforcement, which is getting to be a bigger and bigger issue for the city.
Mr. Mayor, you had, I think you went with Danny Presley and Tim Hutchison and your attorney down in Springdale and had a meeting some time ago, and I thought that was going to come out with an agreement maybe to change the law. I don't know if it'd have to go through the legislature or what, but that was about 2 years ago, and we're still nowhere near where we could be on use of that money for our roads, right? I mean, that was a wasted meeting, in my opinion, because we're still not any closer to where we should be.
I don't know that it was wasted. HICID's attorney advised HICID of the risk of taking different courses of action, but at this point, we're sort of in a state of paralysis because we're unsure, how much risk or what risks to take.
But if you, I won't belabor this, but if you had 100,000 that you could put toward roads, maybe you could take, I'm trying to figure out how we could get this, what Chair just said, 200,000, and if you had the money available, if you're spending it on roads instead of, and then would there be an extra money, additional money that could be for fire protection to our fire department?
Well, obviously, the more the city takes over the responsibility for roads, that reduces the HICID's road budget, and that money could be reallocated to something else.
Thank you.
That's the logical
It
approach.
also lowers our benefits.
Mayor, quick question. Whose job is it, HICID or the city, to come up with the amount of the interlocal?
It's
In agreement.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, is whose role is it to set the amount?
It's a negotiation.
I can
Was
tell
my
you where I
understanding.
came up with the 100,000. You know, I sat down with Rich, I made an offer, he said I need 100,000, so we said, well, this year we can do 100,000 because we have it in reserve. That's how we came up with the 100,000.
But I would like to say something. Our total budget for, our total budget's around 4.2 million, 4.3 million. The city's budget is 12% of that. And I think it's unreasonable to ask them to pay a high percentage of costs. It just doesn't seem right to me that we would put it that at 200,000, given their limited budget. I think 100,000 is generous and adequate.
Mayor, can you tell me how interlocal rates are normally calculated, how they're normally made? Because we're going to review a Beaver interlocal here shortly, and they have 4% of the calls, and so we're going to give them 4% of the cost of the budget, which is $23,000.
There's no, I don't know that there's any set way of doing it. On roads, it's pretty easy to figure out, you know, because, you know, we know what percent of the roads have been dedicated to the city. So we apply that percentage to the road budget, what it costs to operate the road department, and that's how much we pay.
Then can we do that with the same percentage for the fire department of how many calls they do inside Holiday Island? No, it's about 82. 82% of the calls are inside Holiday Island. And so I'm trying to figure out, what is that number? How do you come up with a number that's figured there? Sometimes services are not always based off the dollars that you have, but they're based off how much it costs.
It's, there, like I said, there is no, when it comes to the fire department, there's no established precedence on how to calculate it. I don't know if there's even any other city in Arkansas that has such an arrangement.
But you have an interlocal agreement with the sheriff's department. How did you arrive at those numbers?
It's their cost. Their cost to provide two deputies.
Okay,
So that's what I just
let me
asked.
ask you this.
There's 4% of the calls, and they're going to pay $23,000. I'm just trying to figure out, how do we figure out the number?
We're not going to come up, I mean, we can be here all day talking about logical ways of approaching it. I'm telling you, it doesn't make any difference. The city doesn't have the revenue. If we want to talk about changing revenue streams long-term, that should be done in a different meeting, because that is a long-term strategy. The city can't just turn on a faucet and have money flowing in. It takes time. If we want to raise revenue through sales tax, that's a ballot initiative. Can't happen again until the election in 2 years. If it's raising revenue through tax millage, 5 mills is the most that the Arkansas Constitution will allow, and we could pass an ordinance next October that says that we're going to impose a 5 mil tax that will generate some amount of revenue in 2027. However, it's still not going to be $700,000 to run the fire department. The only way the city is realistically going to be able to assume a large portion, it probably would be that the city would have to take over the fire department in total. It wouldn't be a partial. And the only way we could do that would be to set up a public safety, what do they call it, urban service district, which would be operated similar to a water district or something like that, but it is under the control of the mayor.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you this. Our budget for the fire department is $525,425. What do you think is a fair amount the city should be paying for that service?
I don't know.
If our portion is $520,000, and the city has equal benefit to all of that, what should they be paying in a cooperative agreement with an interlocal?
I don't know. I don't have a number. I don't look at it from an equity standpoint. I look at it from a...
Why? It's in our budget. We have to come up with $500,000.
But you have the opportunity to set assessments without any legal
we have other things. We have a big budget, and most all of it is spoken for. And we can't just arbitrarily move things around.
I cannot just send out a letter that says that everybody needs to pay the city X number of dollars a year. There is no Arkansas statute that allows me to do that.
Barb Kuhn, member of the Holiday Island City Council. Our current income through November for the city is $312,000. You are asking for us to pay you 75% of our income for this interlocal agreement. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. I guess maybe it was inevitable with turnover in personnel and board members and stuff like that, that we were going to come to this. But it was an understanding, a clear understanding between HICID and the city when we incorporated that the city was not going to be able to contribute significantly to the operation of the fire department. The interlocal agreement is being done to meet a legal requirement for the city to assure that the citizens have fire protection. It was never intended to make sure that there was an equitable sharing of expense. It was known from day one that most of the city's revenue was
But you have an equitable agreement with the sheriff's department.
We took that over from the
From HICID.
Yeah.
And it's covering the cost of 2 deputies and an office space.
Yeah.
And a car. 100%. And we're asking for half of what our wages are for the fire department, and the city is saying they can't afford that.
That's right.
At what point in time will the city be able to afford an equitable share in the fire department?
You have to tell me what's equitable.
Half the wages.
Why half? What's equitable about it? Does the city own half the assets of the fire department?
No, they're just paying half the wages. HICID owns all of the assets of all the buildings and the equipment, and will forever.
Well, like I said, this is this is a subject for a long-term meeting because I can't agree to any number other than what I've already offered, which is $100,000. And I'm telling you, don't count on $100,000 every year.
Mayor, can I ask for a solution, I guess, from what I'm hearing the board say, or the chair talk about the 200,000? And you're talking about a different meeting that should be set up to have the conversation to go about this, and this is due January 1, correct? So we have to get something on the list for that to fulfill January 1. Well, what if the solution or the suggestion would be to lower this to $100,000 in turn for the city to have that, and set on the HISA side for this interlocal to last for 6 months, and that gives us time to go to a meeting to figure it out for the rest of the year? That'd be suitable?
So you're saying $100,000 for 6 months?
It would be 6 months. That gives us time to go to a meeting to figure out what the problem is and how do we fix the solution. It gives us 6 months, but still in the chair's position of proposing the current agreement, they would be able to fulfill their request for the 200,000. It gives us 6 months to figure out what to do.
But didn't you say that, Mayor, that you wouldn't be able to get any additional money till about 26, 27? Let's say that you could go up to 200,000, but by the different methods you said the city council could go to, we wouldn't be able to get any of that money from your budget till a couple of years from now? Is that what you just said? I thought.
I guess what I'm trying to get to is if we get to a meeting and we find out that this should only be 100,000, then we can extend that contract 6 months and fulfill the year at the 100,000. But we've got to go to the meeting to figure that one out. And so I'm proposing that the chair is asking for $200,000 for the year. We set it back to $100,000 for a 6-month time frame, and gives us a chance to set up a meeting and have a meeting to come up with a solution for the problem.
I would suggest that, building on what you're saying, that we agree to $100,000 for a year with the option to go back in 6 months and revisit it. Because they're not going to have any more money 6 months from now than they do right now.
That's correct, but I think we could, through a meeting, work out an agreement where not all that money has to come from the general fund. We can do some trading with the road money.
Can't do that.
The city can't.
No.
The city can or cannot?
The city cannot transfer road or street fund money to the general fund.
No, I'm not asking that. I'm saying that in lieu of another $100,000 in fire department money, you do $200,000 worth of paving.
Yeah, I mean, that.
And Dan, that's what we can work out, but we have to come to some sort of an agreement that if you're going to give us the money for the road and saves us money, we can then move that money towards fire department. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
But your letter dated November 21, the amount for the road was like $33,000. Well, that doesn't do much for me at all.
Plus the paving we were going to do.
What's that?
Plus the paving we were going to do.
Well, that's not in that letter.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know what the dollar amount of that even is. But I'm saying that in the future, I think we can trade some road paving to offset some of the cost of our overhead of the fire department.
I totally agree.
Okay.
Pick a date for a meeting and I'll be there.
We are going to set a date in January on a Saturday where Ms. Reagan can come and moderate the whole thing, and kind of maybe we can work out some of these differences and come up with a plan.
If you want to have a moderator there, fine.
Well, I think Cindy does a very good job.
Absolutely. I think we got a lot done at our meeting, and I think it helped our planning considerably.
And those that can't
So
make.
for the motion that we have on the table, are we going to change that to $100,000 to approve it?
Is your board meeting
asking.
tomorrow, your council meeting tomorrow night, and they're going to approve this 100,000? It's on the agenda.
Just to keep everything in line, I guess. I'll make a motion that we approve it with the modification of it is a 6-month interlocal at $100,000, and that we have a meeting, a joint meeting, to figure out the outcome.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion on the table already to approve
there?
the, yes.
Okay, which one was it?
And just for everybody's, according to the Muni League, the motion is presented and a motion is taken. Then you do the discussion, and then you do the vote. The very first thing you do to bring a motion, according to the Municipal League rules, is make the motion. So that's why when we read this, the chairman reads it, someone says, I move that we discuss. So that's where the motion is on the table.
So you want to do
But
a
he
vote?
just modified that motion.
And he can modify the motion. I also would modify the motion to leave the 100,000 in place for the entire year and
Well, let's have a
revisit it.
vote on your 100,000 then. Let's just have a vote. I didn't hear a second to your motion either.
It was, yeah, Ken Brown did.
I don't think we can have the 6 months in there. It's either interlocal agreement for a year, which the other one was, and then at that meeting in January, we would discuss some other possible solutions to the problem.
Well, we can take it to a year at that meeting if we decide that that's the only course of action.
I think we should do it for a year now and revisit it
sure what motion
after
we're
a
on.
meeting or a 6-month.
To take a vote on to come back to a modification.
All right, we'll vote on Phyllis's motion to make it $100,000 for the year,
Did she have a second?
which she had a second from Ken. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Aye.
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 Okay. Let's have a roll
It was
call vote.
voted on and it was voted down.
Do a roll call, please.
Do a roll call.
Commissioner Surratt?
Aye.
Commissioner Holland?
No.
Commissioner Graff?
No.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Pinkley? No.
Okay, the motion failed.
Now, we have a modified motion.
You may restate that.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the interlocal with the city for the $100,000 for a 6-month period, starting January 1 of 2025.
I'd second that.
You gonna have discussion on that motion?
Yeah, we can have a discussion. And I think the discussion is that during that 6-month, we can come to an agreement and trade some road paving in lieu of cash for the fire department.
So you're opening the floor for discussion?
Sure.
I think the motion you're voting on right now is going to fail at the city council level. There's no reason for it. The 1-year agreement, you know, the only reason to put a 6-month cap on it is because you don't trust us to be able to come up with a long-term solution. So you're holding the interlocal agreement hostage with a 6-month deadline. There isn't going to be any more money after 6 months. So you know, whether you want to call it a 6-month agreement or a 12-month agreement isn't going to change the financial aspect of it. So
I think we understand that, but I think that the whole scenario of it is that we get you to a meeting and we can take that and talk about these road funds and get those roads transferred to you as a city. And then we can transfer some of those funds at that, we can decide to do that at that meeting to the fire department. And then we could go ahead and pass the 100,000 for the year.
why does the interlocal agreement on the fire department have to be dependent on us having that meeting? That's my only question.
I guess
It
the reason I made the
It
motion
seems to me
is
that
to,
you're holding the fire department hostage because you don't trust that we can get together and come up with a long-term resolution.
We haven't got together, and I've been on here a year, and we've asked for this meeting, and we haven't got together.
Mayor, I only made the motion so that both parties would be happy with the amount and that we can come up with a solution to fix it before we get to the end of 6 months.
but it's not the same amount.
It is not. It is in the amount per month that the chair proposed, but that doesn't mean that that would end at the 6 months. If we can have a meeting and come up with a solution, then we could extend that out to be for the year for that amount.
That's why
It's still the
suggested-
100,000.
That's why I suggested doing it for the whole year and revisit it in the middle.
You know, I think all said and done, if the mayor sees it about trust, and we're doing this all transparently in the open, we'll take his word and the city council's word and accept the $100,000 for a one-year interlocal agreement. But it's also understood that we are going to get together next month and hash out some of this other money with the roads.
Pick a date. I've been wanting that meeting for,
I make the motion, we approve the $100,000 local agreement for 1 year. All right. All those in favor of the motion for $100,000 for 6 months?
I'd do a roll call, please.
Roll call.
Commissioner Surratt,
No?
Commissioner Holland,
I'll vote no to go back to the motion.
No.
No.
okay, Commissioner Pinkley, no.
Express yourself.
It's voted down. And in interest to move forward and to establish a relationship with the city, I make the motion, we approve the $100,000 local agreement for 2025 with the understanding we're going to get together next month and move on with some road money.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. You want to open it for discussion?
I'm good.
Commissioner Surratt,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Groff,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinkley, aye.
It's been moved and
thank you.
voted on.
I think that's the reasonable thing to do. And I would also suggest that in the future, if you're going to make a radical change to a proposed interlocal agreement, that you come and talk to me about it first and not spring it on me in the middle of a public meeting.
I would suggest the same, that when we get a letter from the city in November, when we should have been already through the budget, and we're hearing about you're making us an offer of $100,000.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Can we take a quick break?
The next one is for Beaver.
We'll take a 10